Hi everyone, Fatscraps here. Just a quick explanation. After I made this tasty recipe of fake spaghetti ragu, homemade noodles, and homemade bread, I realized that the video was way too long. So I tried my editing skills, as best as they are, to make 3 separate videos, each one with its own tasty recipe. So now you will understand why some of the edits and transitions are a little bit rough, but they are still tasty recipes. Thank you and enjoy fake spaghetti ragu, homemade noodles, and homemade bread. Hi, and welcome to Cooking with Fatscraps. I'm an OK cook, sharing tasty recipes. Well, as you can see, I have my dough board out today, so we're going to do some things with dough, and I have a really fun, tasty recipe to share with you today. But first, let's go to the mailbag like we always do here on Cooking with Fatscraps. Hi! Well, hi. Why don't you do 2 tasty recipes a week? It's hard to wait until Friday. Signed, Impatient from Ipanema. Well, anyway, the reason I only do 1 recipe a week is because that's about how long it takes us to eat the leftovers from the previous week, and I don't like to have to clean the kitchen more than once a week. Alright, thank you. Keep those letters and cards coming. I love reading them and hearing from you. Today I'm going to share a tasty recipe that we call fake spaghetti ragu. And the only reason that it is fake, instead of using pancetta, I use regular bacon. Instead of having it simmer a long time, 3 or 4 hours, we usually eat it as soon as everything is done. But along with that, we are going to make some homemade noodles, you bet, and of course some homemade bread. So, well, now it's time to make the ragu, and I found out that the word ragu simply means stew or soup. So, for our fake spaghetti ragu, what you're going to need is, of course, some olive oil, and we'll just do about a tablespoon. You don't want a lot, because what you're going to do is render the bacon in the oil until all the fat comes off that, and then we can add all our vegetables. Then you'll need about, I don't know, 2 medium onions all chopped up, 2 carrots diced, 2 pieces of celery diced. Now let me tell you, this is all what you would like to do. If you'd like a lot more in there, that's great. Do whatever you feel like with that. Of course, you'll need a pound of hamburger, and like I've said, I don't like to use the really lean hamburger, and I don't like to use the fatty hamburger. I usually like to use the 93% lean hamburger because I think that works the best. Okay, then you're going to need about a fourth to half a cup of chicken broth, some tomato paste, some dry white wine. This is a Pinot Grigio, okay? And then something that you might not have had before, but the base of this whole ragu is milk. So you're going to need about a cup and a half of milk. So let's begin and start rendering our bacon. Okay, so let's start rendering our bacon. Don't have your heat up too high, because you just want to do this nice and slow. Now, because this is fake spaghetti ragu, I'm doing this a lot quicker than you would normally do it. And like I said, I'm using bacon instead of pancetta. So let's let that render down. And while that's happening, let's do this. You got about 1/4 of a cup to a half a cup of chicken broth. Then you're going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste. Yeah, that looks about right. Mix that all together. Then you're going to use about a cup of Pinot Grigio. Now, if you're not going to use wine in this dish, just have an extra cup of chicken broth. If that's all you need. So we'll put about a cup of this in there. Nice. And because I have some Pinot Grigio, that is my drink of choice today. So here's to your health. We'll let this render now for a few minutes and we'll be right back. Alright, this has been sauteing for a couple minutes now, and now I'm just going to add our onion. I'm half Italian, and so one year our family, my wife and my 2 kids, we went back to Italy to see where my grandparents came from. And one of the things I learned about Italy is that not all Italian dishes have that thick tomato red sauce. In fact, where my family comes from, it's up north by Torino. Most of their dishes like this are not tomato based at all, but they are broth based or milk based. It's the farther south that you go in Italy that the sauces tend to get a little bit heavier. So that was kind of fun to figure that one out. So anyway, we're going to let these saute for a little bit, and then we'll come right back. Our onion now has softened up, and so now we're going to add our hamburger. So we'll just add our hamburger, and what we're going to do with this is we're just going to let it brown nicely. Don't let it get too brown, but let it just brown nicely. So we'll be back in a couple minutes. All the pink is out of our hamburger now, so now we're going to add our vegetables. And again, like I say, have at least 2 carrots and 1 celery diced up, but I like to put a lot more into here so that we have a few leftovers and there's enough for everyone. So just put in what you feel like. And we'll let these again saute for just a minute before we add the rest of our ingredients. These have been sauteing for just a minute or so, so let's add our salt. And somebody asked me, what am I doing here when I put it in my hand? Well, I figure about the cup of my hand, like that, can you see that, is about a teaspoon. And then I just don't add too much, and I can always add more later. So there you go, a little bit like a teaspoon. And then we pepper, of course. All right, let's stir that up. Then let's add our tomato sauce, tomato paste, and wine mixture here. There you go. Now, this is where real Ragu would kick in. We would take our 1.5 cups or 1 3/4 of milk and add it slowly over the next 3 or 4 hours. But I never have that much time or patience. So what we do, or what I do, I just add it all at once. And there you go. We're going to let this simmer now for a good hour, and then it will be time to eat. Well, here you have it. Fake spaghetti ragu with homemade noodles and bread. And it sure does look tasty, but don't take my word for it.
Mmm, tasty!